when you experience enough rejection, probably not the first time, not the second time, maybe not the third time, but when you experience enough rejection, if you don't know how to process that rejection through God's love, you become wounded. Listen, a lot of people can say a lot of things about me. It doesn't bother me a bit. Please. Used to bother me. Doesn't bother me a bit. Why? Because I understand that somebody is being used as a tool of the enemy to try to get me upset. The enemy always sets you up to get you upset. So most of what I read on social media or the videos they make about me or whatever, please, I'm flattered that you would spend that much of your time and energy to persecute me. Because blessed are the persecuted, right? It doesn't bother me. It would if I had rejection. But here's the thing, and that there are real rejections that can happen in our lives. And if we don't run to Jesus fast enough, that wound will fester. So the key is when someone rejects you and you feel the pain of rejection, you need to run to Jesus. Do not give the enemy an advantage. Don't give him a toehold, because a toehold becomes a foothold. Don't give him a foothold, because the foothold becomes a stronghold. And then it's difficult to break free. You got to find someone many times who can help you to bind the strong man. And sometimes rejection is the strong man in your life. So you become wounded. Then, number two, when you're wounded, you're vulnerable to the voice of rejection. Once you're wounded, then you're kind of off center. You're off kilter. Once you're wounded, you're kind of back on your heels. You're kind of stunned. Once you're wounded, you're not then thinking rightly. You're thinking about the wound instead of thinking about the healer. See, when we get our feelings hurt, most of the time, if we're honest, we get our feelings hurt. We're not thinking about Jesus. We're thinking about our hurt feelings. We got self-pity party going on over here. Right? And so when we get wounded, we're vulnerable to that voice speaking to us. And the enemy has been watching mankind for thousands of years, not just 2,000. There's been devils in the earth since before Jesus came. The enemy has been watching people, mankind, responses for thousands of years. And he knows when we're vulnerable. He sees us with our tears, depressed, laying in bed, not getting up. Now, if you give ear to the voice of rejection long enough, if you give ear to it, you allow this spirit of rejection to minister to you long enough. You entertain it, what it says about you, then you open yourself up to a spirit of rejection. In other words, when you come into agreement with the devil, you've given it a right to come in. When you start to agree that you're no good, that you're not worthy, that nobody likes you, that there's something wrong, when you begin to agree with these voices, this voice from the outside begins to renew your mind. And then you begin to agree, you're right. You think little of yourself. And at that point now, you're coming into agreement with the devil. Instead of resisting him, you're no longer resisting him. See, James 4:7, I believe it is James 4:7, says, submit yourself to God, resist the devil, and he'll flee. So the inference is that if you're not submitted to God, or if you don't resist him, he ain't going nowhere. He's not going anywhere. So you hear this voice of rejection, you end up coming into agreement with it because you've allowed it to renew your mind, and now you've got a spirit of rejection. It gets hold of your soul, and little by little your life starts to deteriorate.